I really loved Hassan. We had a great friendship. We did some important things together. And so we're here tonight to honor that great man and to be committed to his gigantic agenda of peace and love. That friendship with Hassan was so important because of his incomparable witness as a peacemaker. And Hassan's daughter is doing a wonderful job with the foundation, and I'm very pleased to be included in tonight's agenda. The peace issue is hugely complex. So before engaging this issue, let me share a wonderful story that warns us against pretentiously giving the last word on any subject. One night at sea, the ship's captain saw what looked like the lights of another ship headed toward him. He had his signal person blink the other ship, "Change your course 10 degrees south." The reply came back, "Change your course 10 degrees north." The ship's captain answered, "I am a captain. Change your course south." To which the reply was, "Well, I'm a seaman first class. Change your course south." This infuriated the captain, and so he signaled back, "Damn it, I say, change your course south. I'm on a battleship." To which the reply came back, "And I say, change your course north. I'm in a lighthouse." Carl Sandburg was asked just before he died what he thought was the worst word, the most despicable word in the English language. And without hesitation, he replied, "Exclusivism." Exclusivism is a terrible word because it's a terrible reality. Everyone has experienced it at some point and at some level in life. Some at minor places, others have been traumatized by vicious exclusivism. God's chosen way to truth and salvation has been the source of the most deadly conflicts over the centuries, down to this very hour. The arrogance of conviction. I think we know that exclusive claims to salvation and truth are not the way to peace. My experience in Los Angeles says we are coming face to face and able to face the fact that there is more truth in all religions put together than there is in any one of them alone, and that includes Christianity. I believe that until this arrogant and murderous history of claiming an exclusive path to God and the sacred is faced squarely and honestly, there is no possibility for the religious community to be an unequivocal force for peace and justice in this radically pluralistic age. Seeing authenticity and wonder of other religions has not compromised my Christian faith. No religion has a monopoly on spiritual truth, and moving away from religious exclusivism, we help create the authentic ground for interreligious dialogue and peace. If we are to have peace in the world, we must move away from American exceptionalism. Move away from the rhetoric, we are the greatest country in the world, the city shining on the hill. This America, with its history, is exceptional. I don't mean to indicate that I don't love and cherish America. I'm the son of a Greek immigrant who came to this country from Patras, Greece, at the turn of the 20th century. Came to this country 13 years of age by himself, speaking no English. I lived with that man, and I love my country dearly. However, the drive for American primacy got us into these wars with Afghanistan and Iraq, and the destruction of the cradle of civilization. This idea of American primacy got us into so much death and destruction. And it stunned me when President Obama, in his first State of the Union address, offered this assurance: I do not accept second place for the United States of America. I want to take a deeper, more critical look at American exceptionalism and the tragedy of the Iraq-Afghanistan war. And I do so with caution because my time is limited. At the grave, we are all equal, and the suffering of one is not more important than the suffering of another. And this reality is tragically missing from the American people and the American psyche. I wonder how you would answer this question. How many children are we permitted to kill in behalf of causes we consider just? Do you remember that in 1990, the United States led the UN in calling for sanctions against Iraq with its tyrant, Saddam Hussein? And over the next 6 years, 500,000 Iraqi children died as a result of those harsh sanctions. When Madeleine Albright, then the UN ambassador, was asked if she thought 500,000 children and more had died in Hiroshima, that number had died from the sanctions against Iraq. Do you, Mrs. Albright, think that that was worth it? Was it worth the effort? And her response, I think the price was worth it. A year later, she was named Secretary of State, and in 2003, following her time as Secretary of State, she published the memoir, Madam Secretary, and it contained these words: I must have been crazy. As soon as I had spoken, saying 500,000 children dead was worth the sanctions, I wished for the power to freeze time and take back those words. My reply had been a terrible mistake, hasty, clumsy, and wrong. Nothing matters more than the lives of innocent people. I had fallen into the trap and said something I simply do not mean. That was no one's fault but my own. Surely it is time, a half-century after Hiroshima, to embrace a universal morality, to think of all children everywhere as our own. At the grave, we are all equal, and the suffering of one is not more important than the suffering of another. And that reality is tragically missing from the American psyche. I think of all those children killed in Iraq and Afghanistan as a result of our war. I think of those 30,000 children across the globe who die every day of malnutrition and hunger, and my heart is broken, and God weeps, and God weeps. Some studies say nearly 1 million Iraqi Afghan civilians have been killed in these wars. Oh, the horror of war that kills the children and their mothers. I hate war for that. We need to proclaim as loudly as possible that war with the face it wears today is sin itself. Jesus would bless the late Howard Zinn when he said, "There is no flag large enough to cover the shame of killing innocent people." The evil at the heart of the wars in which our country is engaged is the sin of American exceptionalism. I mean the sin at the heart, the evil at the heart of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan is the belief that an American child is more precious than an Iraqi baby, that an American student is more valued than an Afghan boy seeking knowledge. Therefore, a reaffirmation of our common humanity and our equality in joy and in pain must be given primacy if there's ever to be peace in our world. A story is told about President Abraham Lincoln following the Battle of Shiloh. The president was approached by the frantic brother and sister of General Lew Wallace. They had heard the general had been killed in the Battle of Shiloh. But President Lincoln assured them that he had not been killed. He was alive. It was not their Lew Wallace who had been killed. The people sighed with relief and turned to leave. But the president responded with the compassion that had so marked and distinguished his life. Oh, but it was somebody's Lew Wallace. Only as we regain this compassion for all the children of the world, only as we rediscover our commitment to the solidarity of the human family, our common humanity, only then can we hope for a world at peace.